get them. And
Okay.
yeah, anything we get accomplished right now is great with a little bit of the swirly
Yes, with this energy. So thank
swirly
you for,
astrology.
for being on the call. And so since it's already about a minute after 7, I've already started the recording. And
Yay.
so people will just jump in as they jump in. And I know there'll be some people jumping in on the phone. So do you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, yeah. If you're ready, I'm letting you lead, and I'll respond.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm ready. I'm ready. As long as you can hear me.
Yeah.
I'm a little back from the computer, but
Yeah, exactly. So I'm so happy. I know that some people are going to see this video as a replay, so that's great. And for those of you that are here that will jump on a little bit, wonderful to have you. And I'm so happy that Gwendolyn's here. We're in some really amazing, interesting astrological times.
yeah.
And so she's going to be sharing some incredible updates about what's going on with this energy right now as well, as explaining more to us about what constellation or integration constellations are, because at the end of the month, she is going to be here in Austin. And she and I together are going to be offering a full day of transformation around relationships. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that as well. But for those that don't know Gwendolyn, those that don't understand the magic she does and how she works with fields of energy and how powerfully transformative it is to be playing in those fields with her, I'm so glad that you're here to learn more about that, so that if your soul feels called to join us on Saturday, the last Saturday of February, the 29th, we want you to be there to be part of this powerful transformation in our relationships. So I think most of you here know me, maybe you don't, but I am a transformational facilitator. I work with women mainly, and I help women get unstuck and get realigned to the truth of who they are. I do channel transmissions. I do all kinds of fun magic. And I love to bring together my magic with Gwendolyn's because it just seems to fit really well. So, hi, Stacy. So glad to have you here.
Yeah. Hi, Stacy.
So I'm going to let Gwendolyn share who she is and how she kind of got started in this magic called constellation integration,
Yep.
integration constellations. And then we're going to get into some yummy stuff around the astrology and how that might be affecting you right now. And then we'll maybe open to some questions, so that if you have questions, you can type it in the chat and we will address those. So anyway, Gwendolyn?
Yes. Thank you, Linda. So where I got started, that was an interesting questioning about where I got started in this work. I've been on this consciousness embodiment path my entire adult life, at least. I've been working with astrology since I was 9 or 10. So bringing that in and understanding how different energies and different patterns affect us. And so there's that. And then I was really working in my 20s with this idea of conscious creation. How do we participate in what manifests, and how does it create, and all of that? And then in that embodiment practices, how do we fully tune into spirit and let spirit move through us, right? So those pieces, right? And then that was kind of an earth-based shamanic path. And my degrees in economics and psychology. So all my adult life, I've been looking at patterns, like how do we relate, and how do our patterns affect our relating? How do they affect how we work, how we even participate in the economy? So I've been looking at these patterns of relating. So in terms of manifesting, and in terms of, what brought me to the constellation work is it was like a next level training for me on this path. And it was really touching that place where the areas where we don't create, or the areas that we get stuck, and we will consciously manifest, we'll have this stuff, and then they don't manifest. And in my trainings to teach those practices, we called them unconscious blocks.
Right.
So, but I was like, well, this is the stuff that happens. Some stuff manifests and some stuff doesn't. And so some of it is very much about this alignment thing, but then it's even deeper. It's understanding that we are part of systems of energy. Yeah. And understanding that profoundly, embodying it, and understanding that we carry the biology of those who came before. We carry the imprints of the experiences we've had and been a part of. So understanding how to relate with that, because that's what's running about 85% of the show, 85 to 90%. becoming conscious, becoming awakened, which is what this time is all about, becoming conscious, is like bringing the light in and the awareness of truth into all these areas that were just kind of happening underneath.
Right.
And I remember when I first was conceptualizing some of this stuff 20 years ago, I was like, that iceberg, 85%, that's too much. I could never process it.
Yeah.
But over the years, it's still too much to process all at once. But if I lean into the bigger thing, then I don't have to process it all at once. And there's all these layers that are operating, and we are bringing consciousness into them. And that's how we can shift how we're creating with life. And the other thing is to actually shift from the I'm doing this all by myself story, manifesting, to that we're doing this with spirit and with everything else in the world. We're part of life.
Right.
So that's where like this comes from. I've been doing this, I studied this practice of systemic constellations. I started in, I think the first constellation weekend I went to was in 2007. And then I started training in 2008 with the teacher I studied with. And I started practicing it in 2009. So that's the idea that we're part of systems of energy, and that our ancestral systems, and that this deeper field of connectivity is here all the time, and we can actually tune into it and receive the wisdom from it.
Yes.
Right? And we can actually shift things on that level, but not by controlling, but by listening and going in and seeing which patterns need attention. And then Bert Hellinger, who brought this practice in after he spent 15 years with Zulu tribes and learning from their earth-based, shamanic practices. Mm-hmm. He brought that into the more mainstream work that was like psychotherapy and Gestalt therapy at the time he was at, and brought this awareness of how lineage patterns really run things. And then I also, in my other work, do a lot of ecstatic dances and group dance work and shamanic dance. So we're listening to this field that we're all connected in, that we move in, we live in, we breathe in. And, I've been like, because I'm always, trying to share things in the world. It's like, well, what's my focus, right? What's my niche or whatever? And my focus is connection.
Yeah.
That really is my focus, which is very aligned with my astrology, and I'm a Gemini, and communication and connection. But it's this, how does everything relate to everything else? And how do I move within that? How do I participate as inside of me as a unique being inside of all of that?
Exactly.
Right? So that's the relating with all of life. And that is my passion, because the more I learn, and it's inside of our bodies, it's inside of our cells, the way our body operates, the more, this whole time of awakening. And I've been using this word, I told you, Linda, for many, many years. And now everybody's saying embodiment, because that's really this essence. How do we live our spirituality and our connection consciously in our bodies, in our humanity? How do we do it? And that's been like my quest, my curiosity, and all the skills and tools I can bring to that. And also, it's kind of like the art of living, right? Yeah. It's like, how do we participate in this dance, in this creative energy? And so that's the constellation work is a format. And then the integration constellations, that's kind of what I call my focus, is I work with systemic family pieces, and very much this idea that we internally are many pieces.
Yeah.
We're operating many stories, and that often we're not operating from a state of integrity, which is wholeness. We have aspects of us operating in different ways. And then that happens in our interaction projection fields in any relationship we're in, especially our intimate relationships.
Yeah.
Right? And anybody we live with really totally amplifies it. And that, like, becoming conscious of how we're participating in creating the energy around us and becoming more whole inside. Healing means whole, and more connected and in integrity inside, so that when we're relating with everything, we're coming from that place. And it's an ongoing thing. Like, I don't think we're here to do it all by ourselves. We're here to do it with each other, because there's much bigger movements of creation happening that we signed up for
exactly
at this time.
It's interesting when you said, how does everything relate to everything else? Saint Hildegard of Bingen, in some of her writings, she said, God created everything in consideration of everything else. So everything is related. And at the most, micro level, and at the most macro level.
Right. And the trillions of cells inside of our bodies,
Yeah.
our one body is trillions of cells operating together.
Yes.
Mind bending.
Yes.
Just one human body is.
Right.
In relationship with all the other creation body that we are. So
it really is amazing. And I just have to share that, you know, my first experience with Gwendolyn, when I was invited, I don't even know how I heard, I think it was through Shirley Norwood, that you were hosting something at her space, and she sent out some kind of email inviting some of us who she knew who used her space too, um, and invited me to this. I didn't really know what I was coming to. I was like, well, this sounds interesting. You know, I was open. And I just remember that first experience of this integration constellation thing.
right.
It was fascinating to me. To my little Aquarian mind, I was like, whoa, look at this. And then I also experienced a really profound benefit to me personally around pieces in my family system I was completely unconscious of and unaware of, that were ready to move in order to create an easier flow in my energetic life and in my life. And I got hooked. After that first experience, I was like, oh, wow, this stuff's amazing. And I saw how it moved so much. Like you said, we're not here to do it by ourselves. So when we come into a group process like this, and one person moves a piece, it moves all these pieces for all of us. And it's like, wow, it's like I got 10 years of psychotherapy in one constellation experience.
Exactly. Well, so on my path, I was doing shamanic work, shamanic dances, and I was doing shamanic sessions with people, soul retrievals and soul hunting. And what I experienced in the constellation was like, we're doing a multiple soul retrieval in one shot with everyone. And constellations, I do individual work with people, but the format is actually designed, it's a group field experience. We all come together and we move energy collectively.
Exactly.
It's that energy that's underneath that we can't even get to with our minds. Like we can't analyze it and get there. Like I don't know what's going to happen before a constellation. I have like intentions of kind of what we'll bring, but what people bring to the room, then we're going to explore how that wants to move.
Exactly.
You know? And that's a huge, you know, keeps it interesting for me because it's not ever the same. And right, but it's also like, wow, we can really do these amazing things together, and we can do that even when we want to create things together. We can listen to the field. So idea of the field that Rumi talks about, that the space between right and wrong, you know, I'll meet you there. That's the field. And Rupert Sheldrake's talked about the morphogenetic field that we're all connected into. We can actually tune into that consciously, and it's with each other, and it's profound what shows up, and it's very, to me, like affirming of the deeper truths of our connectivity and life and the things we're a part of. I was hooked. And when I put a prayer out to Spirit for my next level of work, and I went to an intro with the teacher I ended up studying this practice with, and I remember being in the room going, this feels like the dances, because I would do these shamanic dances where people are blindfolded and they can't see what they're doing. And I would feel how the energy would shift and move in the room, and I'd be supporting it. But I was kind of like, how do we bring this out in the world, right?
Exactly.
And what words and what tools can we use that can actually help us to do this in our lives?
Exactly.
Because it changes. It's actually a point of view shift.
It
is. And I remember the first one with you. I remember pieces of that constellation. I remember all of it, but I remember, and it still surprises me, even when it's so specific, right? Because the wisdom that we are walks with us. It's in us. It's in our energetic field. So, but this is group. The group takes it to another level. There's just some things. And then a lot of the integration can also be just how do we work with the shifts that show up when we shift these. What it is like we're going deep in the roots and changing the operating system, and allowing for the roots to operate more effectively, and also allowing ourselves to connect into the future and what we're creating, and allowing all those systems to actually have a reconfiguring.
Yes, exactly.
Which is perfect. I'll mention some of the astrology.
I know. It segues right into some of the astrology.
Because the astrology is like, well, if you haven't been touched by 2020 blast. I don't know where you are, but blessings on that. Thank goodness.
I like that, the 2020 blast.
Um, because the astrology, we had astrology in January that hasn't happened in like 500 years, which is long lasting. The
Right.
last full moon was a super moon, so that was blasting. I mean, the astrology is just like, you are not going to get to stay where you were.
Yes.
And if you try, you're going to be more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're open for the shifts and you've been kind of ready for them because everything rearranged last year anyway,
Yes.
on a lot of levels, then the shifts now, we're kind of integrating some really big alignments, and that takes time.
Right.
So there's that. And then there's like what's happening even just right now. So from those big alignments, there's still a lot of planets in Capricorn, which
Yes.
is about getting stuff done.
Yes.
But just on Saturday night, Mars went into Capricorn.
That's right. Yep.
Which Mars is the action planet. So now we're all like, we got to get a lot of stuff done. So we have this like young masculine energy to get stuff done. We have Jupiter in Capricorn kind of being more grounded, like the energy. And then we have like the father energy. Like we have the young warrior, we have the man, and then we have the father energy, which is Saturn, all in Capricorn.
Right.
So there's a lot of wanting to get stuff done. And then we have Uranus over in Taurus. So we have, and that's just shaking everyone up. No one's going to sleep. It's like the awakening is happening. We're going to have to look at our stuff. We're going to have to clean up our messes. We're going to have to be with ourselves and be with each other. So that's important because that's such a big thing and it's not going to stop. And we're just going to have to find ways to nourish ourselves in this.
Yes.
In this, as we wake up, as we see things, as we see our own messiness, as we clean up stuff with each other, you know, because that's bringing this light in, the light, you know, the awareness, the truth, the consciousness is coming in.
Right. Right.
And it's all in the planet of Taurus, which is about the body and the earth. So our relationship with the earth and the relationship with our bodies are having the awakening right now.
Yes.
That's this ongoing stuff. And that's trining Mars right now, and especially in the next few days, because Mars just went into Capricorn and Uranus is at the beginning of Capricorn. So it's a trine, which is a harmony. It's like, but it's kind of a harmony to take action and wake up and do the new stuff. But there's a really nice trine there to support that. But we all felt it. And this weekend we had Mars go in at the same day that Mercury went retrograde, which meant we had all this energy to take charge. And then we had this swirly communication system.
Yes.
Right? It's like moving in that watery Piscean way because Mercury's in Pisces right now as it begins the retrograde.
That's right.
And
yes.
The gifts of Pisces are compassion, right? And actually connectivity in a different way, in a liquid, fluid way. And the challenge is illusions and dreams and fantasy. And dreams can be also creative visions. But when a planet goes retrograde, or when in relationship to the Earth spin around the sun, a planet goes retrograde, which means it slows down and ours seem to speed up because of the angle around the sun.
Yeah.
It's like there's like right when it's going to go retrograde, right when it's going to go direct, it stations and it gets kind of like it's like going forward and backward, and you feel like that tension and then it starts going backwards, which is actually a little bit of a relief. Yeah. But this weekend we were in the like Friday through Monday, we were in the tension. It went retrograde on Sunday afternoon, and we're all like, "Whoa, what's all that?" And once it starts going retrograde, it's bringing up anything that needs to be completed, especially in the last 3 weeks. So if you did anything for the last 3 weeks, right now you're going to be going back over it and getting that. But also retrogrades are notorious for bringing the past up to look at.
Exactly.
Right? So this idea of review, regenerating, reconstructing, like redoing things, like that's here.
Yes.
If we look at it from a joyful thing, like, oh, it's here, we need to take some time and refine and review and get clear on what we're doing. Then it's great. If you're trying to force a lot of new stuff, it just spins around a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay, right? It's like, but if we use it as, it's kind of like when it's rainy and you get to use the inside time. It's like the inside review time, and it's like, oh, and people will show up to see where you're at. You're going back over stuff.
Right.
You get to see. Go ahead.
What you were mentioning about Pisces, I heard another astrologer mention that right now with this energy of Pisces, it's like the old era of Pisces meeting the Aquarian age right now. on
Yeah.
an energetic level. It's very symbolic, you know, of
Yeah.
we're leaving the Piscean age, stepping into the Aquarian age. And
Right.
this astrology is very symbolic of that as well.
Right. It is on the bigger scale levels. Totally. I didn't bring that in so much, but it's totally that. And that's part of this deconstructing. And in the information about the relationships, we're in a deconstructing time because a lot of the systems that have been operating were built in the Piscean age where there's a lot of hierarchy.
Yes. Yes.
And the Aquarian age is everyone in the circle.
Yeah.
We're all at the same level.
Exactly.
And then it's about finding how your part works with everything else.
Yes.
Right? But it's different. And we're so hierarchical trained.
Yes.
Our operating systems have been just used to, we go to hierarchy, who's in charge,
Yeah.
right? But we might have a whole government overhaul. Astrology is set up for exactly what it was when we had a revolution as a country. So
Yeah.
we might have changes in how we do things.
Yes.
And that's on the big collective level, and that's around the world.
Right.
And on the very local level, right? And in our relationships, it's like we have these dynamics that were part of a Piscean thing, which not only is Piscean hierarchical, it's polarity.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right? And we're moving from not polarity. It's not one and the other, not black and white. It's not the fish swimming in a yin yang. It's like there's more than one. There's a mandala. I keep getting it's mandalas, where there's different creative energies happening, but they're not always like hierarchical, but there's this creative flow.
Yes.
That is here, but we're operating differently. And physiologically, we respond to the unknown as danger, most of us.
Right.
Unless we've touched in some ecstatic unknown spaces, which I seem to have a life that lives that way. But it feels like danger. What it does is it triggers like our first experiences of birth or conception or early physiological experiences in our childhood where we encountered the unknown. And if we had a great thing happen then we might be more relaxed about it.
Yeah.
But if we have any deep traumas from those experiences, then they run us. And it's also like we're meeting each other and we have all this made up story of how we're going to relate with each other. And then it's like really coming into the moment with curiosity going, I don't know, this is the patterns I run and this is what I know I'm wanting, because there's a lot of stuff up about attachment and all that kind of stuff. We're all learning some great stuff about ourselves and how we learn to relate.
Yes.
And then there's these deeper running patterns like that. This is how we relate subconsciously, where we don't even consciously notice it, right? But it's running us. And how do we actually shift those patterns?
Yes.
And operate in the present.
Right.
With each other.
Exactly. Because that actually brings us to this the energy of operating the present in your relationships.
Yeah.
Self and with others, which is one of the reasons why we got the hit to offer this this day of kind of building the new story around relationship that we're going to be exploring on Saturday, February 29th.
Yeah.
Where we're going to be playing with these beautiful fields of energy, and you're going to be doing this integration constellation work. I'm going to be doing some of my channeling work. We're going to have a lot of fun, moving these bigger patterns so that we can actually be in the full present authentic moment with each other in relationship.
Yeah.
Because relationship is so big and up for the 2020s.
And it's all about that, right? The number 2 is relating. It's like the partnering. In 2020, it's like, how do we come together and build things? 4 is building things.
Yes.
So it's actually building the new relationship story. And so we're not going to get it all done in one day, but we're going to actually, I keep getting, it's like, I think in construction sometimes, and it's like when we restore something. So you take something apart and you take the pieces that you can use to build the new. And then you use that and you feel into what you're wanting to build in the new, like you tune into that. And how do you take what's there and actually craft it, build it into the new?
Yes.
So it's not a rejecting, but it is a releasing of what we don't need.
Yes.
But it's actually listening to it enough that we used to just demolish buildings, smash everything and not reuse it. And then we realized, well, that's a lot of waste.
Exactly.
We need to start taking what we can out of them, restore them, and use them in new ways.
Exactly.
And that's kind of, what there's an invitation. And the energy of this Pisces energy, and it'll be getting into Aquarius, Mercury will, right around the time we're doing this. But it's this yeah, it's that energy of Pisces is about compassion, like the
Right.
deep passion and connection as well. So we're going to be, how do we move and create from a state of compassion and connection? And I will say the group field work has embodied in me compassion at levels I could never have intellectually gotten.
Yes.
Like again and again, understanding that we're part of things, understanding where people are inside of something and
Right.
how where I am inside of something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's cultivated compassion at these other levels.
Yeah.
And we need that in order to change our patterns
Yes.
and to create other patterns with each other, because we've all kind of, we have a lot of ways of doing things we might not want to do anymore, but we don't even know how to stop. And it's actually physiologically scary to let go of the patterns that have worked, even though they make us miserable.
Right. Because it's what we know. It keeps us anchored in
Right.
to an old story that is comfortable for us, even though it's probably misery.
Right. So how do we build a new story? How do we make it kind of playful, right? How do we create, like tune back into our natural instinctive curiosity and creativity, like
Yeah.
little ones have, and we have that, and meet each other in that.
Yeah.
So it'll be a lot of like playing with and listening,
Mm-hmm.
listening and moving, but not so much intellectualizing it.
Right.
Because we've already done lots of that. And there's lots of opportunity to do that still.
Yeah.
Because that's how we integrate sometimes as we talk about it.
Yeah.
So, but it's almost like this is going to be a chance to go underneath. I'm coming all the way to Austin so we can see. And I'm really excited. Like the energy on this feels so fresh and different. And we're doing it in 2020, and it's the 29th. So we have this like bonus day this year. So we might as well do something amazing.
Right.
Right.
Out of time in the Mayan calendar.
That's one, and it's out of time in the Mayan calendar, and it's the bonus day in this calendar, right? We don't have leap day except once, so let's leap. Let's take that energy. 29 is a master number, which is 11, which is nice.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be doing stuff that whole time that I'm there on Thursday, Friday during the day, and Saturday and Sunday, different pieces of this. But Saturday is kind of like this, like pivotal energy.
Yes.
Like because the new frequencies, like that activation, the energies that are wanting to come in, that you bring in and we tune into when we're together, are wanting to come in. So we need to kind of reconfigure so we can allow those in.
Yes.
Light energy and that truth.
Right.
In a new way.
Yes. And so what I'm finding to be interesting in this energy that we're in now, I'm just seeing these themes coming up in the work that I'm doing with clients around relationships. And lately, as I was sharing with you earlier, it's been this interesting relationship with bits and pieces of our own selves that haven't integrated yet. Yes. So this experience that we're going to offer, this transformation experience on Saturday the 29th, it's not just about traditional relationships between, let's say, you and a spouse, or you and a partner, or you and a family member. It's actually also going to be addressing parts within yourself that need to move into harmony and alignment and need to integrate. So you don't have to be someone who has an issue with relationship. You might be going, well, my relationships are perfect. I have a perfect mate, no problem. It may not be about that for you. If you're being called to this, it's because there's something maybe internally in a relationship aspect of your own self internally that you're not aware of that needs to integrate so that you can be in a more aligned place with the energy of 2020 moving forward. So just so that people don't think, well, I don't have any issue with relationships. It's not so much about the traditional look at it. We're going to be addressing that too, but even deeper layers that will be addressed.
It's actually about our relating, right? Like how are we relating, what patterns, and how do we want to relate and create with others? And we are in relationships, and even if they're good, they're still growing and changing.
Exactly.
Because that's just the truth. If they're alive, they're growing and changing, and there's so, like everything in life, it really is that relating, and how are we participating in that? Because any area that we want to shift, even if we want more of the good stuff, right? It's kind of like, how do we allow ourselves to be that? And I will say that underneath, we have a culture that has so much hidden, repressed stuff. Like, even if it's not directly you're getting impacted by the culture and the society you're part of. So when we clean up our stuff, we can be present with other people's stuff and with the world around us, present and able to take action. You know, this Mars in Capricorn is like, you need to participate. You need to build stuff. You need to create things. We aren't creating in isolation. We're in a world together.
Exactly.
And that is actually our strongest motivation underneath. That's our physiological, is to feel connected. Like we need food, but other than having enough food to survive on, connection is actually our stronger motivation. It's why we do all these things we do underneath, is to feel that energetic of connection. And there's actually, you know, I saw a great quote from Bert, I don't have it memorized right now, Bert Hellinger, who brought this, and being able to disconnect with consciousness is really huge too, because we actually feel guilt if we change a pattern that we're inside of systemically. And it's actually healthy guilt.
Right.
Like if we're part of a racist culture, which we still are somewhat, it's different, but we still are, because there's still a whole lot of segregation going on. But if we're part of systems that aren't working for everyone in them, then that might be okay for us for a while, but we also recognizing that we're perpetuating the system. And as we become conscious on the path, we recognize that if we're part of something, then the people that things aren't working for are also part of us. And how do we shift internally to shift the patterns in the system?
Right.
Which is different than trying to fix everything, because we're not going to be able to do that.
Right.
And it's not even an assumption that anything's wrong. It's an awareness that if we want things to change, we're learning to change in relationship, and that actually starts internally.
Exactly.
Right? And the parts of us we don't like or we don't want to look at are actually mirrored all over the place to us.
Yes.
Right? It's like everywhere. It's like you'll date them, or you'll be friends with them, or you'll go to the grocery store with them, whatever, but you're going to run into that person that has something that triggers your stuff. And that doesn't mean you're them, but they're reflecting the trigger that they activate is yours.
Yes. Yes.
And how do you actually integrate that part of yourself?
Right.
And how do you come to a place of acceptance instead of wrongness? Because there's a lot of wrongness. Like, but we all actually have a greedy aspect on some level. Like sometimes there's cars you're going to pull in and maybe take that parking place, or and that doesn't mean we're always acting from that place, but acknowledging that part of us has a place keeps us from trying to hide it and repress it and shut it down. It's why so many secrets are coming to the surface.
Exactly.
So much abuse, so much sexual stuff, so much lying, so much money stuff, so many things are coming to the surface because the light's coming in. We're having to see it. We're having to look at it. And sometimes we're having to see the consequences of things we did that we didn't look at. And now there's consequences from the actions or the inactions.
Yes. And
how do we compassionately meet that? So this Mercury in Pisces is allowing us to see it from a compassionate place.
Right.
How do we see these pieces from a compassionate place? And how do we do this for ourselves?
Yes.
Right? Instead of hiding them.
Exactly.
Right? And also because if we hide a part of ourselves, we're always doing that. Like there's an aspect of us that's having to do that, and we're not being truthful.
Right.
Go ahead.
It's common that in relationship, whether it's with a significant other or a friend, how we hide parts of ourselves because we're afraid of, if they know that part of me, they won't love me, or they'll not like me, or all these ways that's like in the Aquarian age. Sorry, everything's transparent. And so I feel that's why all this is coming up, so we can start getting comfortable.
Right.
Let all parts of ourselves be seen, including the parts we don't like, including the parts that are like, oh, I don't want anybody to see that.
Right. Right, totally. And first, at least being with ourselves. It's really about kind of like being naked in who we are.
Yes.
Right? It's like, oh, this is all of who I am. And can I actually just be with it without judging it or righting or wronging any of those things? Just like, this is just the truth of who I am right now. Right. And how can I be in a loving, compassionate space with that? And then the more I can do that with myself, the more I can do that in the world. And the more the world isn't having to play out my projection of all the things I don't love.
Yes.
Because it will play that out for us. And it's also, it's actually more relaxing. It's kind of like trying to control all this stuff is exhausting.
Exactly.
And once we do it, we're clearer, so we can make choices from our truth instead of this all the stuff, the story we're running. We like, right now what's true, and my body and my soul. I'm like, well, this is a yes, or this is a no. And it's I don't know. There's all these pieces. This is where I feel a yes, and this is where I feel a no. This part of me feels a yes. This part of me is a no.
Right.
Like, and why is that? And how do those parts work together? Because integrity is, something's working in wholeness and in integrity, it's the most like efficient capacity.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
It's where every aspect of us is utilized.
Yes. And there's very few people on the planet right now working from that space. And those that are, you know it. Because
Right, you can feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
You
So I
can
have a
feel it.
practical question coming up in the field.
Right.
So people who've never come to a constellation experience like yours, people
Right.
feel like they're just hearing about this, sounds interesting, I quite don't know what it is.
Right.
So from a practical standpoint, what can they expect when they what do y'all do? Did everybody get naked and do the dirty
Stay on.
things?
We're getting energetically more vulnerable. We keep our clothes on.
Right.
That you can actually be naked and hide a lot of shit, but we're gonna wear our clothes. And sorry, I said it like that, but it's true. Like there's a great quote. Someone says like intimacy is where we're being vulnerable, and our truth is here. It's not necessarily taking off our clothes.
Exactly.
So we're gonna be in circle. We're gonna be exploring what's true here. What's here in your body right now? What are you carrying that needs attention? So we're talking about relationships, which is a big topic. What right now in your life are you actually wanting to have different, right? What patterns are you running that keep getting in the way of you living what you're wanting to live?
Yeah.
And because this work gets to the things we can't get to, we know them, we can't shift them. And a lot of stuff we don't even know why. Like we don't know, but we know that something's there and we're ready to build something new. Like you're tired of some things and you're ready to shift into the new. And if you're building something new, how to do that with more clarity and refinement.
Yes.
So when we get together, we'll be in circle, we'll share some things, and we'll actually be moving around. So a lot of pieces of it are, you're not going to be like running or exercising or something. So just wear comfortable clothes that you're okay sitting down on the floor and standing in, but nothing fancy. And we're going to be listening to what's underneath and what our core things are that need help. And we're going to utilize this group energy that's here. And I'll be kind of guiding some, and you'll be guiding some. We'll be using this group energy to actually listen to this field, this connective energy, and get the shifts and the support of all of the guides and energy that walks with us, and see what naturally is ready to shift. I often call my work organic transformation, because there's natural things that are ready to shift. If you're feeling this pulse, like you want something new in your relationships, right? This is going to be an opportunity to touch into that. And the collective field, like I was talking about, this fresh energy. We'll be doing like some big group pieces. We'll be doing some like kind of triad group partnering stuff. And then we'll also be doing some creative play. We'll probably be doing some gong stuff, and we'll be doing some activations of energies, right?
Yeah.
We're going to really go into the root, see some of the core operating systems that are in the room of the people who come, the attention, so that we can start to shift this. And then we're going to go into like the core, like our own internal things, what's running us right now, and allow those some space to integrate. And we're going to open that energy flow through the roots with that wisdom that's coming in and all around from life, from the light, and let that actually move through us. So we're going to kind of, it's like it is that reconfiguring, right? With the direction, the intention of building the new story together.
Right.
Like listening to what we each bring and the magic of that and how it moves through us symbolically and directly when we share. How do we create new things?
Right. So another question I'm sensing is about, so let's say my partner and I or spouse are having issues. Does that person need to come?
No.
And do I need to even be in a relationship with someone in order to come? Do I need them to come?
Yeah. You don't need to be in a partnership relationship, which is kind of the implication of that. I can't imagine that if you exist in this world where there are other humans, that you're not in relationship.
Right.
with others.
Of some sort.
Yeah. So any place you work, anything you do. And so you can bring in, like, we'll be bringing in a focus. What one area do you actually want a relationship shift in? Like, where is there a dynamic that you want a relationship shift? And definitely more of this focus will be on the ones that we're kind of co-creating with. So partners, work people, other things. But what will naturally come in is if we have children or we have other things that will come into the field if it needs to be addressed.
Right.
So we will, but this is if you want, there will be a focus on how are we creating our relationships now.
Exactly. But you don't have to be in any partnership or bring someone or nothing like that. I just want to make sure people who've never done this before know that you just show up.
Just show up. You're welcome to bring people. And I will have to tell you, just like Linda, who showed up once, this stuff is a little hard to describe until you experience it. And then you're like, oh, it's like, it's deep experiential. Like you'll feel it, you'll have awarenesses either in your body or your knowing. It's like the other, I often call it the heart field, but the other phrase for it's the knowing field. It's often to me like a refreshing thing.
Yes.
Like, oh, that thing I know I'm connected to, the thing you feel often when you're in nature and you're outside, or you're with animals. There's a lot of wise animals. I know Stacy's here. Animals are always doing this kind of work.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just going to say, Stacey, there's two different people I know who do horse constellation work, where the horses are part of the constellation. Yeah. Horses are amazing. Probably smarter than us.
Yeah.
like the dolphins are smarter than us. And they communicate that way. In the water, they communicate and there's new studies, the way they're communicating is different. So it's actually an opportunity to tune into this capacity we have to communicate at a whole nother level.
Exactly.
And it's not too scary. You can tell me any of your concerns. A lot of the process I walk people through because, if you're new at it, I'll know.
Yeah. And I found it to be lots of fun.
Yeah.
Because this isn't a day-long transformational thing where you're sitting there and you're taking notes, and it's not a mental intellectual process. It is literally your whole body's in it, your mind's in it, your spirit's in it, all part of you is in it, and you're experiencing an actual shift. You can actually sense it, feel it. It's really amazing. So I find this kind of work really refreshing and different from other kinds of modalities out there, because again, as I said earlier, it moves so many big parts that I didn't know were running the show, that were creating lots of bumpiness and stuckage and all kinds of stuff in my life. And when these parts moved because of this beautiful group field that people came together with, I'm like, wow, I would never have been able to get to that on my own.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so beautiful about this work, is that it gets at things that nothing else out there will get at. And this is why I feel it's in the world right now, is because we have big pieces in our lives that we're like, why is my life not working in this area? Why do I keep seeing the same thing coming up over and over again? I've done everything. I've done all this healing work. I've done blah, 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 blah. And you've done all this individual work, but you've never done constellations.
Or if you have, you're ready for
where the answer is. It's in helping with these bigger, deep subconscious pieces that you can't get at with anything else you've tried. This is I love this work.
And it's like we do it together. So it might be that we source one person's constellation story, but everybody participates, and it's in the participating that all the patterns shift.
Exactly.
It's part of that Aquarian mindset, is that we're all participating in the shift.
Yes.
It's from more of a solo thing to a collaborative changing thing. So we're all part of it. So I'm not doing it all. Linda's not doing it all. We get together and we drop into this field and we listen, and we become the movements. The other phrasing that Helen used, movements of the soul. It's like the soul, the bigger soul that we're parts of, get to move through us.
Yes.
And it's I was on my knees when I found this work to spirit, going, I have done everything I can, and still this really intense stuff just kept manifesting. And I could see, and I didn't even know the word family system at the time, but I could see these were systemic patterns that had happened in my childhood that I'd done everything to change and not live that way. And then the same pattern scene was happening. And I was like, no, right? How does this change? My daughter's in this scene. How can this change? Because I'm not consciously choosing this, but
Right.
somehow this pattern is running.
Exactly.
Actually getting to that place, and then if it does resonate with you, it's so powerful because it's like I said, it's a living art.
It
You
is.
get to be part of this mandala of life and creation. And as I've grown in this work myself and experienced every constellation I've gotten to be a part of, and I still go and my teacher does things sometimes, and I do other people's, I don't always lead because it's really powerful to get to receive it. That
Exactly.
so I always get like new layers of awareness and new ways of supporting people. So I've been doing this for 12 years. So I really bring every single experience I've had in the field
Mhm.
and all the 25 years of movement practices and dances to this moment. Like, so we bring our magic with us, and so then it gets to be activated. So if you're feeling the call to this, it's like you're ready for something next level. And
Mhm.
that is what 2020 is about. It's next level. Think about it. It's 2020. It's like a whole new decade. It's really a whole upgrade. But that's what we're in, and we need, and part of that is doing it with each other.
Yeah.
Um,
What I'm getting is that it's going to be like the new 2020 upgrade in relationship
right.
that needs to happen with our old operating systems, so that we're operating at this new level. Because that is absolutely what I'm sensing going on. It's what I've been seeing in the work I've been doing with clients. This
Yeah.
whole upgrading that's happening in different areas of people's lives, but really it's actually happening systemically and wholly. Even though you may only feel it in one area,
Right.
it's kind of like infiltrating all areas over time. So I find it's fascinating, and I feel that the work that your teacher or the founder of this work, I feel that it's so interesting that it's this Aquarian age fits so well with the energy of this type of work now. You know,
Right.
it just fits. The world's more ready for it now, I
Yeah.
feel, than ever before.
That's what I've been feeling too. Like I've been gathering because I've been preparing a course that I'm going to do online, and I've been like trying to distill pieces so that people could keep working with it. Like, what are some of the tools that you can work with personally? But the juiciest thing ever is when we get together,
Yes.
because the field itself has so much information, and it can be overwhelming. So I will say that we have a small group. There's only so much space. So if you feel a yes to this, please say yes, because it might fill up. I feel like this one actually will,
Yeah.
because I have people coming in, not just from Austin, they're coming in from other places. And
Yeah.
so this Saturday is going to be like the mega blast. I will be doing an afternoon of constellations on Sunday. So if you want to give yourself extra, Linda already has a commitment, so she can't be there, but
I
there's,
know.
and they're all, to me, it's all about embodiment practices. How do we really live that way? And we have to live that way with each other. Like, that's how we're going to create the new, right?
Exactly.
If we're just spiritual sitting on a mountain all by ourselves, that's like great. And it's good if we get an opportunity for that, but that's not actually living our reality.
Yeah.
Right. So how do we do this in our world? And when we rewire things on the deeper levels, we actually embody the changes.
Yes.
And that's how it really changes things, because we're not just intellectually trying to change it. We're actually have had a full shift. So
Mhm.
when we meet the moments that come up, we're actually different in them.
Yes.
And that's what I'm inviting. That's what we're inviting you to, is like how to actually experience it. And this practice, more than anything I encountered, and actually I see constellations inside of everything we do, because we're always in group fields creating and
Yes.
part of creating. But these practices really help us, move
Right.
from a different space.
Right. So we have a couple of minutes left. So I
Yeah.
wanted to open it up for questions. So the way we can do this is, so those of you that are on the phone, you could always just hit the unmute button. It's that little microphone, and you can ask your question directly. Or for those of you that are on the actual app on your computer, you can see a little chat bubble with 3 little dots in it. You click on that, it opens up a little chat box, and you can actually type in your question, and then I will, both Gwendolyn and I can see it, and we can answer that way. So you can either unmute yourself and ask any question about the astrology going on right now, or what this whole constellation thing is. I'm kind of getting it, but I'm not. Whatever that is, or anything about that experience we're going to offer on the 29th of February, you can ask about that as well. So I just want to give some time for people to just ask questions or share an awareness, or, you know, whatever's coming up for you. So either unmute or type it into the chat, and we can answer that question for you. And
And
don't
I
be
want
shy.
to mention we have an advance price that's just through Saturday. So in the email that's with this event, there's some information about it, but we do have an advance price. It's $180 if you pay by this Saturday, and it's $220 after that. So just if you're ready to say yes, I encourage you to.
Yes. So there's a question that came up. Does this relate to star seed astrology? Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, I've heard of that. I love that question, because if you come, you'll bring it.
Yes, exactly. You bring
Because
it.
what we'll work with will be what shows up. So I've worked in all kinds of containers, and I'm not, this work isn't so much going to be focused on the astrology, even though I use the word constellation. It's not in the astrology. It's about the group pattern that we're in.
Yes.
That said, our astrology is a constellation. So I look at charts and I see people's constellation in their charts. So it is that. And the star seed, you know, it's not so direct inside of that astrology lineage, which is part of the question, but our star seed, what we came here to be, that our astrology set us up for, that all of our experience set us up for, is wanting to be activated. And right now, when I talk about that truth energy, that light energy, we're getting so much light literally coming in and activating us through our sun, through the actual solar system, because the sun isn't actually sending as much our way as it does. But when we have solar minimums, then we get blasted from the galaxy.
Yeah.
Which is these extra star information that are part of who we are.
Yeah.
So that's getting activated in our DNA and in our cells. And that's part of what we're having to integrate.
Mm-hmm.
What Linda was talking about.
Yeah.
So how do we fully let our full star self be here with our human self and with the story of who we've been? How do all these things have a place?
Right.
Right. And when we try to bypass things, then they run underneath, and that's what creates a lot of the messiness, is the unconsciousness. So it's an activation. So yeah, we will be activating the next level, which includes the star seed will be activated. It's here.
And so then what this person said was that's awesome. The Pleiadians have been calling me to do something like this, but specific to star seeds like me.
Yeah, it's not just for star seeds. I want to clarify that.
Right.
Although who knows who will be invited and will want to come, but it's that, you know, all the pieces will be welcome. And I've done a lot of work with the Pleiadian lineage, so I hear that, and actually that's kind of like my root lineage on the star level. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah, so we're bringing it in, but it won't be so just on that conversation. But that doesn't mean that we won't be doing that work. Like, how do we integrate that in this now? So if those are pieces that are in the room, we will be bringing them in. How do they have a space inside of all of this?
Exactly. And you know, so much moves on certain layers that sometimes doesn't get brought up in words, but it moves anyway. So if it's brought into the field, even on a more subconscious level, and it needs to move, it will.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's great. Thank you, Amber, for sharing that question.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a question? You can either type it into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask. And it can be about anything having to do with this conversation, the astrology, what's going on at the end of the month, or just this particular modality that Gwendolyn is a true master of.
Thank you.
Or anything around relationship having to do with all that we're talking about. Because I know that's up right now for a lot of people. I'm actually already feeling some interesting movements just being in this field of energy. So things are already moving interestingly.
Yes, and I want to say that once something starts to be a part of creation, this is something I've observed a lot as an awareness that keeps coming in, it starts happening. So there's so many pieces that each movement starts to activate. So once Linda and I talked about it, then it started being in creation. And then there were words out. And now we're talking about it more. So it's getting more living, juiced energy, right? This is how things are nourished and create.
Yeah.
But they're also, so like in terms of the starseed, when you think of the, like the oak or the seed, right? The oak tree, inside that seed, that acorn is the calling of the tree it's going to become.
Yes.
So there's energy in this creation of when we gather that is calling us to it as we are creating towards it.
Yes.
And that's understanding how the future past work together, because really on the other dimension levels, they're all happening at once.
Exactly.
So, but it's like this, yeah, how do we work with these? How do we work with that? And what I find is that whenever constellations, like now that I've got the 3 people that were the focus clients for the Sunday constellations, the energy is going to start kicking in with each of them. When I speak to them about the constellation, it's going to kick in. Us speaking about this just gave it all this juice.
Exactly.
And it was already feeling fresh. And I got my ticket yesterday because I needed to determine some logistics things. And as soon as I got the ticket, energy started moving. And it's like I can feel each movement starts to create.
Yes.
Right? And to get this, we're not actually doing that much. I mean, I'm going to be there. I'm going to, I have to get across the country, so it's a little bit of a project, but, right. But it's like when we give birth to a child or any animal gives birth, you don't sit there all the time and tell your body what to do to grow the child.
Mm-hmm.
It grows.
Right.
Right. You hopefully enjoyed your creation process, and then it's growing, and then you have to nourish and be present with it.
Yes.
Right. So this is energy like that.
Yes. I think, Christy, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Gwendolyn. I've been going through a pretty intense period of kind of revelatory about my relationships, and I've some really interesting characters have been brought into my life on an intense level.
Yeah.
And what that means more specifically is it's been a few months and a kind of a love relationship and a co-housing relationship have brought in just about the most terrifying aspects of of my upbringing. And it's been made pretty clear what some of the dynamics are and what with the psychological labels and such, and I'm trying to work my way out of both of those relationships now.
Mm-hmm.
But so what the cycle has, I've really been working to attach to the deeper meaning and levels of it, and seeing where the lessons are in these relationships. And am working through the situations with a greater strength and awareness than I've had in the past, and I think that's part of the process. Now, in the midst of it, and there's some part of me kind of called it in, on a conscious level, not knowing for sure what was going to come out of it, but I knew something was coming with it. And I'm wondering if the constellation work can help me attach a deeper meaning, significance to this lifetime and previous lifetimes. Because if it's coming up now, I feel like it's it's really physically palpable. The level of discomfort in my body and my energy. It's really amazingly deep.
Just in this moment, if you're okay, I'm just going to invite, I just invite all of us on this call to just take a deep breath in. And just allowing what's here in your body, what's here in your experience. Just have some space. And just breathing in again. And just for a moment, feeling the energetic support that we create in this moment, just with the presence of more than one.
Thank you.
And just, yeah, really be with that. Letting your mind rest for a moment. Right, there you go. And just breathing into your belly. Feeling that you're there and we're here. And in this moment, as far as we know, you're safe. We're safe. Right? There's nothing else happening except this moment.
Yes.
Right. So just letting yourself actually have that kind of come in. Because our bodies need that in order to allow for things to shift. And just putting your hand on your heart, and everyone can do that, just breathing into our heart. And just letting our hearts know we're here with them. We can even say, I'm here right now. I'm here now. Just feeling yourself come in. There you go. And in this moment, just feeling compassion. We're all holding compassion for ourselves and for you, for everything that you've experienced. This compassion for it. Yeah. And I just want you to imagine for the moment, like to the side of you, you could see it in front of you, that all of the story is maybe like a ball of yarn or something. But all of the story that of what's happened, just let it have a place right now. It could be a book. Just let it have a place kind of next to you or in front of you for a moment. And just feeling your body and feeling compassion and just feeling your awareness that all of that is true and it's happened. It's part of the story. Just taking a deep breath in. And just let me know what you're noticing in your body right now. What are you aware of?
Noticing my body saying thank you.
Yeah.
I'm noticing kind of a higher awareness. Feels like a it's a confirmation that this is a good perspective
Yeah.
to let it be
Yeah, letting it have
outside of myself.
Yeah. Right? So you're still it's still a part of, but you're not entangled so much.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So I can just keep adding to the ball of yarn.
Yeah. Right. And when we're in the middle of it, it's really hard to take that step back. But this witness place, which is a really powerful energetic,
Yeah.
and being able to have these different points of view and this expansion allows for new.
Yeah.
Right. And our physiology needs attending to if it's even going to let us go there. Because when we're in protective mode, most of us, our brains are crazy. We're running all the physiological stories that we learn, keep ourselves safe, right? And this is about a deeper listening and tuning into presence. There you go. So just tell that ball of yarn, say, I see you.
I see.
Yeah. And tell your And from your body, just say, I'm here now. There you go. And just allow, because we're all holding this collective space right now. And anyone who's in this, if you have a ball of yarn, which I'm sure you have stories, the books, right? Just allowing ourselves some space with that, right? Allowing ourselves some space with that. It's actually creating a little more, that expansion and spaciousness allows for something new to happen. And we're not going to jump into the new right this moment. We're just going to allow that to have some space, right? So that the awareness inside of you, there's a deeper wisdom that we're all tuned into and connected to. It's here. So I'm curious right now, as you're in this place, as you look at this ball of yarn, is there anything you're aware of that you would do to, like, that you would want, if you were going to move towards it, away from it, the side, any movement that you feel guided to do?
Physical movement?
Yeah.
Crying.
Yeah, there you go. Let yourself cry, right? Because there's grief that you're carrying.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
it's been months of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into this stuff right now, but your
Yeah.
body saying right now, that's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
And it's grief. It's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
And feel that truth, right? Like right now, that's true. And I'm curious if anyone else in the circle or Linda has an awareness that's here as we do this, because often we're going to pick up awarenesses that support what's happening.
Mm-hmm. I'm aware of something like behind my chest where my heart is. There's I don't know what it is. I'm just aware of a sensation there. It's kind of like behind my breastbone in the heart area. It feels kind of physical. So it may be just some expansion, because the word I keep hearing is, wow, you're expanding. We're expanding right now in this moment, which means that something new is coming in. So I'm actually sensing maybe what I'm holding right now is that new that's coming in. It's more expanded. It feels calm. It may not be here yet, but I just feel the sensation of it. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. I can agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it might be pushing against the things that are holding on.
Mm.
Often when there's expansion happening, the things we're holding on to, yeah, and thank you, Amber. We'll just let that energy be in circle around us.
Yes.
Because it's really clear in the circles I have that we don't jump in and help, even if there's energies that want to support, that we hold space with.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if there's energies that want to come in, they can be in the circle with us. There.
Yeah.
Because this is part of honoring our humanness and how we participate and consent, right? Like often we want to help, but how do we do that from a place of consent and compassion and deep reverence and respect for each human and their wisdom?
Yeah.
Right, right. Because there's support here, and there's support here with you, Christy, right?
Thank you. Yes.
You can feel, and when we feel it, we're going to feel. When we feel support, there are things we will not feel, let ourselves even feel when we're by ourselves. Because
Right.
we don't feel safe enough physiologically to let go that much. Sometimes with certain animals and but usually when other people, animals, we're wired for connection, and our physiology won't relax in certain states unless there's another with us at least. And so there are things that we need to feel that require that like our physiology it won't go into, because it needs to keep us alive. And so a lot of programs in our operating system are here to keep us alive. And so the safety has to feel like it's here. And just that alone starts to shift energy.
Right.
Right. And there's something new coming through. It's kind of like when you're pregnant, and there's this thing growing, and it's like, oh, it's expansion.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of breathe into that opening.
Yeah. So the long answer to your question, Christy, is yes.
Yeah.
This work will absolutely address on some level, probably multidimensional levels, some of the things are coming into your reality right now.
And it won't be so intellectual.
Right.
And I will say you're getting a first taste of me here doing this. I sometimes will pause people if they're going there, because this work is about going underneath.
Right.
And it might not make sense at all intellectually, but when you're complete with it, you'll be like, oh, something shifted.
Yeah.
Like, it's that deeper layers that that aren't about the mind and the word so
Right.
much.
Mm-hmm.
The body, in the body. The body is connected to the entire field of creation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just acknowledge what you've carried, Christy, and may you feel supported and guided in the next steps with
Thank
all of it. Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for being
We will
courageous.
be addressing the family systemic patterns that keep us locked in some of those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have one more question for you though. The I won't I won't be able to attend on the 29th because I'm having to move house on that weekend. So, which is good. But so I would be interested in your next offering.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Gwendolyn,
Well,
you're going to be here on Thursday, right? So you're going to be doing some of these experiences Thursday through Sunday, right? Not
Thursday
just
through
Saturday.
Sunday. Yeah. I'm doing a Thursday night community constellation circle. I'm doing a Friday embodiment, more activation thing, which is actually very empowering with Tina. And then Saturday, we're doing a relationship thing. And on Sunday, the 1st, I'm doing a 4-hour constellation workshop, which you can participate in. There's like the focus people have been chosen, but I have gotten participating in constellation work creates change. I've gotten even more shifts out of constellations I've participated in than even my own at times, because it helps rewire it at different levels. And I might do something on Tuesday if I have enough people that say yes and I get a space to do it, because I'm leaving on Wednesday right now. So it's possible that I'll do something on Tuesday. So stay in touch with me. I know we're on Facebook, and I'll let you know if I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
Sunday. I know if you're moving this weekend, it'll be hard. But
Yeah. I will. For the next 2 weeks, I will be preparing to move.
yeah,
Since I'm around my work schedule.
yeah.
So.
Well, and also I do individual phone sessions in these practices, and so does Linda. Does this kind of? We both work, and we actually do co-sessions together. So you can also get a session with us by phone, even if I'm not there, because I live in Oregon, so I'm not always in Austin. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Spirit will find a way, Christy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want us to do a practice right now before we complete. So let's all just take a deep breath in. Just breathing into your own body. And I just invite you to really kind of claim your physical body space. And doing that again, breathing in. Claiming your body and breathing out anything that belongs to anyone else. Me, anyone else in the circle, letting it kind of go where it belongs, any other piece. This is a really good hygiene practice to do. And doing this again, breathing in. Just breathing in what belongs to you, really drawing it in. And breathing out what belongs to others. And then I just invite you to pat your body and tap yourself and say, I am, and your name, and just really claim your place, claim your space. I am Gwendolyn. Because when we open up fields together, we actually start creating together. And when we're going to step out and kind of go out in the world, we've been touched by those experiences, by what we just did here. We've opened energy. So taking a moment to claim our space is just a nice, simple hygiene thing. And it's part of the practice of not taking on stuff, which is a big part of learning how we relate, both how we are part of and how we can be in choice and consent about how we're participating, which is huge this time. Yeah, and I just want to say I'm grateful to you, Linda. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
For being here, Amber and Stacy. Thank you for your presence, and all those who are listening to it later. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Christy, for offering that up to really assist something important to move right now.
And it's that simple to create that space between us and the story is a movement.
Yes.
So that we can start, so that there's space for the new.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Christy.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. And is there, before we close this powerful little circle here, is there any other question from Amber, Stacy, anything else coming up, any awarenesses, anything else that wants to be shared before we say goodbye for the night?
You know what just came to me?
Yeah.
And I would love to hear any questions. Is like, it's okay for desire to be here.
Ooh, nice.
Like we, like desire has a place in it all too. Like not, and so sometimes we want to create things and we do spiritual work and we do all this stuff, and it's like, but our, you know, the part of us that wants to create more, that's an aspect of Mother Nature. That's an aspect of life, desire, creating energy. Letting all of our creative energy have a place. So this will be deep and it will be playful. You know, I think it is soul play. It's like deep and we'll also bring in the light, because when we open these places inside of us, the deeper places, we actually can allow more of all of life, including joy and ecstasy.
Yeah.
Like all of it has more space, and it's not so extreme, but it's like, it's here. We can actually touch it and feel it more. We're not numb. It's more alive.
Yes. I find that one thing that has, over the years, because I've been, since I discovered you back when you were living in Austin years ago, and I've done a lot of these constellation experiences over the years with you, I have noticed that I feel like I've actually become more human. I know that sounds crazy, but I feel like I've embodied more. Like I'm more here now in my body than I was back before this work. So it's almost as if I'm giving myself permission to really be here in human form as a spiritual being, to really be the most effective me I can be. So it really has opened up aspects and dimensions of me that I didn't even know existed until I cleared up some of these pieces in my own system that needed to get, you know, cleared up and realigned. And so it's actually helped me to be more present to life over time. It's helped me to be more open and expanded. And I know that I'm still in that process, you know, of that. Like, how much more can I be embodied here now fully from that real expansive place of my spiritual self? It's like, ooh, that feels pretty infinite. So
I let the light inside of every one of those trillions of cells. It's kind of an ongoing exploration. As more comes in, it's like, oh, a little more here that needs attention and love. And it is ongoing. I mean, that's my core. My website's Divine Movements, but it's this whole idea of how do we live that spirituality in our humanity. And I find that this is part of the full circle. Like, usually in people going on a spirit path, there's a period where they have to cut off from the things they knew before, like from the old story or family or whatever. They have to do a period of a disconnect in order to function. But what happens is that as you do that, you don't have any connection to your earth energy and energy. And so part of the healing is after you've disconnected and you've got to experience some of yourself out in the world, then you bring that energy, your dharma, you bring that into what you are. into the systems you're a part of.
Mm-hmm.
You bring that in. So this embodiment is like you bring it back in. And people, like I don't see people who work with me, they're not usually beginning on the path. They've been on it, and now they want to actually have a different experience with it. Because there's a spiritual path. It's where you totally check out of your body. You go out, which is true. There's the infiniteness of creation that we're part of.
Right.
And it's true. And we touch that place in meditation. It's true. But how do we live it?
Yes.
Because that's why we're here. This
Yes.
Today, I'm just going to say this because it's on my heart right now. This a good friend of mine, Lariah, the one I used to live next door to, her mom has been going through Alzheimer's for many years, which has been very intense and challenging, and she died on Friday.
Oh.
And the funeral and the putting her in the earth was today, earlier today. So I spent some of my day at that and watching a body going back into the ground, and the hearts that are feeling it, and the lives that are touched by it, and just like this profoundness to it, like that each life is so amazing and precious. And how do we, and singing songs more than once about the preciousness of life. And so I feel like that's why we're here for. We need to learn things by going out, but we're here to live it, right? With each other and in our relationships.
Yeah.
That's where life is. It's in our relationships with each other, with humans, with the beloved animals in our world, and with all of the earth. For me, it's like in relationship. And that's what all of the earth-based medicine teachers have always spoken about, is we're in this, and then there is the infinite too, in the star, because we're in relationship not just in the earth, but with the solar system and the galaxy.
Exactly.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Christy, do you have a question? I saw that you unmuted. I didn't know if there was something else.
I just wanted to respond to Gwendolyn's bringing up the aspect of the spiritual path where we are more expanded and we let go of our kind of our past. And that's how my awakening process began, which is just a kind of a massive blowing open of awarenesses on a lot of different levels. And I was in that state for a good 2.5 years, and have spent the last 1.5 years kind of coming back into my body and back into, actually having to create a life after 20 years of disability. So it's and addiction. So it's been like hard and fast, coming back to my body after just basically a lifetime of not trusting it.
Yeah, right. And it takes a long time to build that trust. Right?
Yeah.
That just breathing in and touching your heart and just letting your body know that you're present with it is part of building that trust.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen right away, because if we've betrayed or disconnected from something, trust doesn't happen right away. It takes those times. Yeah. And that's natural. It's just natural.
It's interesting, one that just came to me was that it's actually now it feels like my body is it's like it's part of my soul or my psyche that's testing where I am with relation to how I choose relationships, and re-examining that, and the body is now telling me that it's not responsible for creating that, and it's time to stop. And so it's kind of, that's an interesting awareness of the piece. Anyway, you don't mean to.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's a powerful awareness.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Stacy, did you want to say anything before we love you? It's nice to see you, your face. um, so yeah, I'm looking forward to this journey to Austin, and all the different pieces
Yes.
that's being offered in this journey. And you can message me, gt@divinemovement.com with an S, or you can find me on Facebook, Gwendolyn Terra. Yeah, on Facebook.
Oh, what, you're just Gwendolyn Terra on Facebook, right?
I'm just Gwendolyn Terra on Facebook, and my email is gt@divinemovements.com.
Hope I spelled that. Divine.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I will be sending out an email that has more detail about that Saturday. If you got this email about this call, if you scroll down to the very bottom, I have a picture of her and then more information, and you can even register for the early bird special so that you can come at a special rate. And then after the date, I think it's after what, the 22nd, 23rd, it goes up.
Yeah.
So if you know this is for you, then get there and get the early bird rate. And I'll send out another email with this video and with more information about our Saturday.
And I want to mention that these are in private studios. So you do actually, I just want to acknowledge we do have to walk up some steps because it's in a house, not in a public place.
Mm-hmm.
Just to acknowledge that.
Yep.
And yeah, if there's any concern with that, you can talk to me, but that's where we're having, it's a magical place up in the trees.
It is. Yeah.
So,
it's a great space.
Yeah. And the other places I'm doing events, each one has its little magic.
Yes, absolutely.
Everything's connected.
It is.
Refreshing. Isn't that refreshing? Instead of that it's just, we're all alone and isolated. We're all yeah, learning how we can be present in ourselves when we're part of such a complex thing is part of the practice.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Gwendolyn, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, for sharing about the update of the astrology that we did towards the beginning of the call, and for sharing more about this whole magic that you do and how we're all connected. So I just say thank you that you came into my life back when you did, because I know it's made some big movements in my life that have really helped me to be really more me here present to do a bigger work than I could have done I could have done had I not had this work. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for all of those who showed up for this, and for those who will watch later. Thank you so much, Christy, for sharing and being brave to share what's up for you so that we could move and open up a beautiful, bigger space of safety for everyone.
Yeah. And I wanted to just say that I kind of mentioned this, but just the astrology for this weekend is like a lot of luck, because Jupiter is doing an alignment with, I just forgot where it is, but Jupiter and Neptune are they're sextiling, which is like, so Neptune rules Pisces. It's in Pisces right now. So this planet of vision, spirituality, and the planet of, kind of beliefs and expansion, they're in a nice sextile, which will still be rippling into next week. But they're harmonic too. So I talked about the Mars, Uranus, but also Jupiter and Neptune sextiling. So there's some great opportunities opening up in this weekend into next week. So just kind of be aware of that. Like as an astrology weather forecast, it's like, oh, something, some opportunities, new things. And maybe realizations like that you've been waiting for coming in.
Yeah.
I feel that. So just honoring that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Gwendolyn. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you to those who watch this later. We hope to see you on Saturday so we can have all this beautiful soul play and expand and move some of these pieces that haven't moved before, and really create a brand new, amazing story around relationship in 2020 and beyond, because we're all being called to it. So It's
Yeah.
going to happen whether you like it or not. So why not make it easy and fun?
I do some foundational work that's fun, right? Because we'll be creating them in the year to come, especially. But it's going to be, yeah. I feel like a lot of magic in this year, but there's no going back.
Exactly.
We are in the upgrade. So.
Yeah. So it's all good, actually. All good. So anyway, thank you all. I hope you all have a beautiful evening. Remember to, as Gwendolyn said, just give back anything that doesn't belong to you and take back all that does belong to you, so that when you walk away from our circle tonight, you are with you, and everything that's not you stays with whoever it needs to stay with.
And letting anything that's part of the bigger circle actually be held by the earth.
Yeah.
The energies of support that are here.
Yes. Yes.
There's a place for everything.
There is. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
sending love to everyone. Have a beautiful deep sleep, a beautiful night. Enjoy the astrology that's here right now for you. Open to those opportunities. I keep seeing these doors opening. So that's my little vision. I just keep seeing all these beautiful doors opening, all this light coming in after I open the door. So just invite in the opportunities. Invite in this expansion that's here. In whatever way wants to show up in your life in a good way. So love. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Gwendolyn.
Bye.